No, I'm happy I could help because I think I'm a discomfort sommelier. I can tell the way someone's uncomfortable, the reason,
Is that a talent of the thousands of years of the Jewish people, or do you think
that's the Jewish people? That's been passed down throughout the years. I am a discomfort sommelier. I can tell you the reason you're uncomfortable, how you're uncomfortable, where you're feeling the discomfort. I did the cellar last night, and there was a woman in the crowd. She heckled. There was a part of the joke where I look in the mirror and I call myself a narcissist. And then I moved on to the next joke. And this woman looks at me and she's hammered. It was like a late show Thursday. And she just goes, "You're a narcissist." and I go, "Yes, I just said that." I go, "That was the joke." Welcome to the new JTrain podcast. Hello and welcome to the JTrain podcast. This is JTrain Jared Freid coming to you live from the West Village, Manhattan. That's right. It's a Chit Chat Wednesday. Every Wednesday, a little chit chat with a friend, a pal, an amigo. Very excited. Today's guest, hilarious comic. He has a new podcast that he is just starting up. We're going to get into it right away. Sean Donnelly, how are you, buddy?
How are you, buddy? How's it going?
It's going well. What's the new podcast? Tell the people here where they should go listen.
I'll tell the people. It's called Burbs Bros. It's me.
Burbs Bros.
Burbs Bros. And
okay.
it's crazy news stories from the suburbs. So me and Dan St. Germain, super funny comedian.
He's been on this show. People know him. Do me a favor. Is your microphone, select a microphone.
Oh,
go to the microphone.
Audio. There we go.
What does it say? What do you select a microphone?
It says maybe AirPods Pro 4.
Do built-in microphone, internal microphone.
How about now?
That's better.
That's better? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
So now you can hear me through the AirPods, but you're speaking to me through the computer.
Ooh.
See,
okay.
This is me, a weathered podcaster, teaching you, a noob, how to do this. Well, you've done podcasting. You and Dan St. Germain had a podcast.
We did. It was called My Dumb Friends. We did it years ago.
I thought that was a good show.
It was very good.
Why did that end? What's wrong with you two? Why can you and Dan not just commit to something and go with it? This is a Dan St. Germain. You and St. Germain, people have listened to him on this podcast. He's out of his mind. What's wrong with you two? Stick with it. Dan, that was a good show.
It was years ago, and we lived on different coasts, and I would go out to LA a bunch to do it, but then he ended up getting a job on a sitcom called Superior Donuts, writing for them. So, it's funny.
Once a week, you can't get together. You're friends supposedly. You can't do a Sunday to keep maybe some.
Jared.
Yeah, but that would have been some good, income. That's a side hustle. That's a side. They call that a side project in the arts world. You keep your side projects so that you're, at one point maybe that becomes a thing. I don't know. I saw you guys starting a podcast again. I was like, we've done this before.
Well, most people would say, "Hey, the band's back together."
Oh, okay. I was excited.
Have these guys.
Here's my problem with your podcast.
Okay, go ahead.
I saw Burbs Bros, and I was like, what the fuck do these two know about the Burbs? These are two city guys. How is this going to be relatable to suburban people? Which I actually think this is a good idea. I think this is a good idea for a podcast. Suburb News, my family used to always read the Needham Times. The Needham Times was the local paper, and the best section of the local paper is the police blotter, because they had to report these things. And you would, every now and again, and I don't know, in a podcast this is different because you don't know the players, but when you see that so-and-so on Main Street got a DUI, it is like, holy shit. Like, our day is made, our week is made. This is the best thing that's ever happened to us. Like, and this is something from the time I was probably like 12 until adulthood. Like, the Needham Times reading it was a huge part of my family life. And I'll keep going because I'm so, the nostalgia of it. Like, we kind of, you and I as city people maybe, and I'm starting to see my friends move to the suburbs, and I envy the bubble they have entered into, because a suburb, depending on where you're from, I think New York is way more transient. I think people go, New York is like Long Island is its thing. Like outside of Boston, Needham, it's almost as if you were just like locked in, like when I lived there. Yeah. So, I do envy their stories, and you wonder, like, does that exist anymore? But then the more I hear from my suburban friends, I am calmed, and almost like go, oh, maybe I should just move, because I'm like, there is an element of it where I go, that is where I'm most comfortable and where I'd have the most fun. I'm here. Last night I'm having martinis. I'm next to, two women. I'm like, what are you guys drinking? They're like, who are you? Stop talking to us.
In the suburbs, you'd be king.
In the suburbs, they'd be like, who's this mysterious guy? Why is he living here alone? He's kind of a weirdo.
Podcaster?
Yeah, he's got a podcast. I would never talk to anyone about me. I always questions. But okay, so what are the stories so I've gone on and on. What are the stories?
No, it's totally cool. But
do you agree with me? Do you hear what I'm saying?
I'm in the same boat. I'm at the point, and I'm older than you substantially. Yeah. And
you're like 80.
I'm like 80, and I've got to the point where I would, if I had the opportunity, I'd go back to the suburbs tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, why not? It's so much easier. You get yourself a car out there. You're going around. You're going to your deli. You're doing all your suburban stuff. You know what I mean? Like New York has delis, but barely. It's you ever see delis in New York? They like it's like an event. Every good deli in New York is like you gotta go 40 blocks from your house to go.
And it's $100,000. You have to get a mortgage.
Exactly. Yeah. Back in the day, there was every corner had a good deli in the city.
I just love I love
cheese.
You and I have city visions of a suburb. I love that we have this vision of a world of like, you just drive around from deli to deli. Like someone in the suburbs is like, what are they talking about? Like I haven't been to one deli. Like there's someone listening with like two kids in a suburb being like, what do they think is going on here? Like I do, but I'm with you. I'm like, you get in your car, people, hi, Mr. Robinson. Sorry about the DUI you just got. I just read about, I
read about it. Yeah. You know why I think that is because you've been in the city a while. I've been in the city for 20 years. The visions I have of the suburbs are like from when I was younger. And that was my main thing was like, get myself some lunch. I'll go meet my friends. I'll go to this and
hang out at the 7-Eleven parking lot. That's a day.
Yeah. That's a day. That's what you do in the suburb. You hang out in parking lot. Now, granted, even the grown-up version is to me now it's better than being in the suburb.
I might do a month. I might move. I might move to not to Needham, but I'll. My parents are really pushing Delray. They're like, you should just move to Florida. Like they're like, you're wasting your money, you're wasting your time. Go, And I looked at a house on Zillow, and I was like, maybe I'll just do a month and just see what this lifestyle is like. See what it's like to drive from deli to deli every day. I don't know.
It's not a bad idea. Even if you really do a month and see what it's like, because that's the other thing I'm so nervous of, that I'll get out there, I'll be so excited for about 4 days, and then I'll just be bored out of my ever-living mind.
That's the problem. Like just now, I was having coffee outside, sitting, watching the world go by, and like kind of waiting to see you, and to do the Zoom. And I'm like, I think I had like 40 minutes, and I was like, I can just sit here for 40 minutes and stare. Like that's nothing to me. Like I'll see
people watch. Right.
Yeah, I'll see 10 women go by. I'll decide if I want to marry each one, and then I'll be ready for Sean.
There you go. That's
so where are you finding the Burbs stories? Where do you get them?
You get them on Google News. We scour the internet for these things, and we try.
You're scouring.
I scour. I tend to scour.
Okay, I don't see you as a scourer.
It's certain things I scour. And I full on. So it's a lot of it's Google News, a lot of it's you look up small town, you look up the Needham Times, like stuff like that, like those types of papers.
If you report on the Needham Times, I want to call in. If you find a story from Needham, just let me call in.
Well, obviously, not call in. Go on the show. We'll do a Needham Times episode. Come on.
I would love to. I would love to go over the news and notes of Needham, Massachusetts.
You have a personal touch on the whole thing.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what the streets mean to me. You know, that's the thing about like a suburban news story. You're like, I know the streets. You know, that is. There's I don't know. There's something comfy cozy about that.
Like put it this way, I live Lower East Side these days, and tons of stuff happens over here. But it's not just a DUI.
It's horrific. Yeah, this is like the Citizens app is like the horror movie version of the suburban newspaper. Yeah. You're like, beheaded? What is going on out there? 2 streets away?
It's a sequel to Warriors out there.
Yeah, the Lower East has lost it a little bit. That they
what's so funny, it almost is like suburbs but it's block to block over here. So where I am is actually, I'm on Grand Street. It's actually great. It's not a big deal. It's busy all the time. It's whatever it is. You go 1 block over here south, whatever it is, on Madison, and all the stories come up. Like you can 9 times out of 10, you're like, where did it happen? Where the guy get shot? Madison? Yeah,
right. Well, that is something I've actually said to people when they're like, "How's the city?" Like especially during COVID, you'd have that person who you could tell was like, it was how's New York City was almost like a way to get political with people without admitting you were being political. You're like you could see by the way they'd ask it, they'd be like, "So how is New York doing these days?" And you're like, are you about to tell me a scary story around a campfire? What's going on with you?
Are you about to tell me that you went to a rally of some sort? Are you
right, because you could tell they just wanted you to say to them, it is weird that they'd be like, you could tell they were like, I want you to tell me that every day you are dodging knives and bullets to get to your home. Like they were, and when you didn't say that to them, they would be very disappointed. You could tell like you didn't really meet their expectations as far as a conversation was concerned. And I used to say, I go, listen, New York is great. I have a drink outside every now and again. And I even say this still, like you can sit outside, you can have dinner. But sometimes there's a street that is like kind of down in its luck. And that's really what it feels like, especially the Lower East. It is definitely street to street.
It's street to street. I remember going to the Comedy Cellar during COVID, and you could make the case during COVID, but everywhere, it's just a matter of people not being out. It's like the more people you have in the city, the better. Nobody in the suburbs wants to see a person for days. They just want to be by themselves in their backyard, and the minute they see a person, it's getting too crowded. The neighborhood, whatever
right.
In New York, you want that because there's safety in numbers in New York.
Yes.
Regular people. But I remember the Cellar would have these. It was like these. They weren't shows, but they were shows. Remember the
I remember
non-show shows. And outside there, it was like Skid Row out there, and I got 2 different times. I got shoulder checked 2 different times. And I got shoulder checked once out there, and I turned around, and the guy did the come at me.
Come at me, bro. Come at me hands.
Come at me hands. He did this. He goes like that. And I went, no, thank you.
I'm out.
I'm going to need him. That's what I said.
You gave the no thanks hands. You put a hand up. No to that.
In the name of love hands.
Come at me, bro. No thanks, bro.
We're speaking sign language at that point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, listen, before we get into Sean's podcast, if you've been dealing with hair thinning, there's hope for regrowth with Nutrafol. My mom has been using Nutrafol. She has seen a difference. She loves it. I asked for a personal endorsement. I was blessed by the hair gods. That is one thing that I'm thankful for. But if that's on your mind, I think you got to go check out their website because am I 100 years old? I'm just saying Nutrafol has different formulas for different people. So you go on their site. It's no prescription required. You go, you check it out. You go through their questionnaire. They're going to ask you about where you are in life, and they're going to give you a hair solution that's right for you. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. Get results you can run your fingers through. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering JTrain listeners $10 off your first month. Your first month subscription and free shipping at Nutrafol.com, promo code FEATHER. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code FEATHER, Nutrafol.com. Promo code FEATHER. Here with Sean Donnelly. So happy to have you here on a Chit Chat Wednesday.
And Nutrafol is on the, are they on the World Wide Web, Jared?
They're on the World Wide Web,
www?
http:// So what's a suburban news story you heard that stuck with you?
One of the ones we had recently on an episode, and we put out 2 episodes so far. We got a bonus one coming out the day we're recording this today, Friday. But
a bonus one. We're already in bonus territory. We have really.
We want to give the people what they want.
You're right. We've been waiting since My Dumb Friends.
Well, there's a lunch lady that was in. I think it was Ohio, that she was stealing chicken wings from the school. But not just they got over the course of 7 years. She stole $1.2 million in chicken wings.
So she was selling like black market chicken wings.
I think so.
So she'd take them from the school.
The school, and then she would, I don't know what she must have had a wing guy that she was fencing this stuff to, or multiple wing people, because over the course of about, I think it was about 7 years, $1.2 million in chicken wings. And I was like, we were on the pod, we're like, I'm on our side. That's a feat.
It's quite a grift. And you know what? I'm always interested in someone being entrepreneurial in a job that they are like, that they figured out how to make entrepreneurial. Like, this woman is really a business major, like, come to life. Like, the idea that you saw the hole in the market, you found people to buy from you, because the schools probably get a wholesale price on wings that nobody gets because they're buying in such bulk. So she saw the margins that she could make. Was she selling them to like restaurants or like?
They didn't say. In the article they don't say, but I will say this is that the only way she was found out is that somebody checked the books of the school. Maybe she had an accomplice, because somebody checks the books of the school, and the food budget was $300,000 over for the 1 year. Oh my God! It was like $300,000 over the course of over the year, whatever it was. So it's like that's on that. Whoever the accounting person was, either they're in on it or that's like me doing the accounting. It's so bad that you missed this $300,000 math mistake here.
I guess it comes into like, hey, the kids are really eating these wings, and like nobody really does that. Like, that's forensic accounting. Like, I have friends that are forensic accountants, and like, that's when you send someone in to count the chickens at the farm. Like, you have to count how many wings are going to each lunch plate, and then you go, wait a minute, it's 6 wings a lunch plate. We have 300 kids. Why are we ordering, 9 wings a lunch plate? And now then the mystery begins.
Yes, it probably does. You're right. It's that makes it even smarter on Hardpoint, because you would have to get down to those numbers to realize these kids aren't eating the wings that are on the paper here. Like that, you have to basically watch a bunch of elementary school kids. How many wings did you have today?
What's that guy in a suit doing here? Why is he at lunch every day? It would be a guy from Ernst & Young showing up every day by accord of like the superintendent. Hey, we got to hire Ernst & Young to come in here. Here's the thing. Do you think there's a show?
A Deloitte table in the lunchroom?
Yes. These 10 people in suits. Do you think there's such a show that would be fun where it's like Law and Order, small time crimes? Like, instead of Law and Order, like, we're going to investigate who rape someone. You do Law and Order. The school's spending a lot of money on wings. We need to figure. And to me, there's a 1-episode arc in this with the same people doing these crimes, right? Wouldn't you because the procedural TV show that everyone loves, the Dick Wolf show, NCIS, Law and Order, FBI, Law and Order SVU, FBI. The whole thing is you get the same cast of characters with a beginning, middle, and end every week. So maybe there's a through line of these two characters fall in love, but there's always something gets solved. Wouldn't that be awesome to have suburban Law and Order where it's nothing too serious, but it's about stuff like this? I think this is a show.
I think it's a show, and I think they don't do it because that's why SVU is the big one, because it's once they figure it out, the episodes would last 6 minutes because they'd be like, oh, it was Fran. Even this one, it would start out and they'd be like,
it's the lunch lady.
The lunch lady. Yeah, exactly.
Why do we assume that all lunch ladies have horrible names?
Because
Fran the lunch lady makes sense. You wouldn't be like, oh, that's Julia the lunch lady. Julia the lunch lady would never make sense. No, that's Fran. That's Rose.
Yeah, there's no Caitlin, the lunch lady.
Caitlin, the lunch lady? I'd be like, get her out of here. Save her. She's too beautiful to be in this job.
Yeah, when it's Flo, Flo's a good one.
Flo, the lunch lady.
Flo works for Diner Waitress, too, because that's a famous
that's
Diner Waitress from the show.
Listen, before we get back to Sean Donnelly, at Shawnee Time on all social media, if you want to eat a sandwich, we were talking about delis, okay? Hero Bread is making bread that is more efficient than the bread you're eating, Sean. Do you understand what I mean? You want to wake up and have eggs and toast. If you were given the option of toast with, regular toast versus toast with no net carbs, 0 grams of sugar, fewer calories, plus protein and fiber, you're going to take the protein, fiber, no carbs version of the bread if it tastes the same. And that's the thing. Hero Bread is making bread that tastes delicious with all the extra stuff taken out of it. They have Hawaiian rolls, tortillas, limited edition options like their popular croissants, or as Sean calls them, croissant, that only have 2 grams of net carbs. If you're watching your calories but don't want to give up the stuff you love, this is the solution. This is it. And I think, Sean, you and I, we are part of we love an Uber because the Uber shows up right at your door. You can see the time. We want efficiency. This is what we want to do with our bread and our food. We want to make sure we're eating as much as possible with as little guilt as possible, and that's where Hero Bread comes in. Keep the carbs out of fall without compromising flavor with Hero Bread. Get 10% off your order at hero.co. Use code JTrain at checkout. That's JTrain at hero.co. Hero.co for 10% off, code JTrain. Sean, the podcast is called Burbs Bros.
Burbs Bros.
Burbs Bros.
Hero Bread has figured out that is one of the biggest issues in life is how can I get a bread like that? Right. So they figured it out. Good for them.
If you can figure out bread being like a non-fat, because that's where we don't when someone said I remember sending Alex Turoff, who I work with as a nutritionist. She's great. ALIX. If you look her up. I remember there was this bagel sandwich I was getting, and I thought I had hacked the bagel sandwich because it was egg whites, onions, and I would put it was an egg whites with onions, and it tasted really good. And then I would put it on a everything bagel, and I was like, look I'm having a better for you version of something I really love. And she was like, a bagel's 1,600 calories. She mentioned what a bagel was, and I was like, what? I was like, it's crazy. And you go,
it's crazy.
What hell do we live in? That
it's a cruel joke that God plays on us is the love for bread and what it does to you. It's
absolutely cruel joke is the perfect way to put it.
Dude, I started doing the intermittent fasting, and then
how do you feel?
Fasting, I've been doing it for a while, and I've slipped here and there, but it makes me it basically it helped me be better at eating. Like and one of the things I realized is because out of necessity and freaking bread, you go like, so I would do 12 to 8. That's my eating period, right? And I would go, well, I'm not gonna have a grilled cheese for dinner because I'll be hungry a half hour later. And then what I realized is the more of that stuff I cut out, immediately that's when I would just drop weight and feel 1,000% better.
You do look great.
Thanks,
I should have said it as we started. No,
there's no reason to.
Well, there's a reason. I'm embarrassed. I should have told you how great I think you look. And
well, you always look great. And here's the thing. You told me something recently. I don't know if you remember. Remember I had a shirt on. What?
Was I hammered? What
no, you weren't hammered. No, it was a compliment. It was a good thing. Okay. Even if you were breaking balls, but I had a shirt on. It was like this fits pretty good. But like, I had one of these shirts on that the tight, like it's because you're a fit guy, but like I had a shirt on that you didn't even know I was thinking this, but in my brain I was like, this shirt's too tight and it doesn't fit right, and I was like, I felt like I looked like it was like tiny on me, and you go, I bet you think that shirt doesn't fit you right, but you don't know the way that shirt's set up actually makes it look really good.
I did say that.
You're thinking it doesn't fit, and you think that you're not uncomfortable, but you're thinking people know that it's like tiny or something, but it's not. It actually makes you look slimmer the way that however it was fit. I forget what shirt it was.
I could tell by the way you were in the shirt that you weren't sure. And I told you, exactly. And I go, that shirt fits you wonderfully.
and I was in my head about the shirt all day. And it really helped me. Yeah.
No, I'm happy I could help because I think I'm a discomfort sommelier. I can tell the way someone's uncomfortable, the reason,
Is that a talent of the thousands of years of the Jewish people, or do you think
that's the Jewish people? That's been passed down throughout the years. I am a discomfort sommelier. I can tell you the reason you're uncomfortable, how you're uncomfortable, where you're feeling the discomfort. I did the cellar last night, and there was a woman in the crowd. She heckled me. She goes, there was a part of the joke where I like look in the mirror and I call myself a narcissist. And then I like moved on to the next joke, and like the crowd wasn't really like, they were like kind of like a dead drum, and then done.
Yeah. Well,
and
next one,
next. Yeah. And this woman looks at me and she's hammered. It was like a late show Thursday, and she just goes, "You're a narcissist." And I go, "Yes, I just said that." I go, that was the joke. And I looked at her and we just like made eye contact, and she had nothing behind her eyes. She was so hammered. And I go,
yes.
And I said, honestly, I looked at the crowd. I go, this woman is drunk. I go, I know she's drunk because I'm looking her in the eye and it feels like I'm looking eye to eye with a Cabbage Patch doll. Like there's nothing.
You just picked up right away.
And then I look over and her friend who she's with, who is not as drunk as her, I just see the friend like sit up in her chair. And I'm like, and I look at the friend, I go, I am so sorry with how uncomfortable you are with this person who has ruined your night. And you could see like it was like I read her mind. Like she was like, I am never talking to her again. I am never speaking with her. Like we didn't want to sit up front, and now I'm sitting with her and I had to listen to her talk about her ex-boyfriend all night. Yeah.
You become like Robert Shaw in Jaws when he's like soda, black soda's ice, like a Dallon's ice.
I've never seen Jaws. I wish I knew the reference. You're a movie guy.
I'm a movie guy. Yeah. Oh, you know
what's the best movie?
Jaws is great.
What's the best movie you've seen recently?
I just saw a movie that was really good. That just came out. It's out in theaters now, called Strange Darling.
That sounds like something I would never go see.
Well, here's the thing. It's basically thriller. It's like a thriller type movie. But my girlfriend, she loves horror movies and stuff like that. She's like, "Can we go see this?" And I saw the trailer, and it's about a serial killer in the Pacific Northwest, but it's done really well. And I don't usually go see movies like that, but I'm glad I went. But the weird thing is that it was done by Miramax, who, after all is said and done, I thought they were gone after all the Harvey Weinstein. I didn't realize they still existed after the Harvey Weinstein stuff. Yeah.
Well,
they're still
you know,
around.
it's fun.
They don't
You know,
own
it's
it anymore.
funny.
Yeah.
I think the name Miramax being combined with Harvey Weinstein
Right.
doesn't connect to me. To me, Miramax is like nostalgic in the way that like, oh, that's an old company that I used to watch. I would see at the beginning of a cassette tape. I'd be actually more happy to see Miramax than disappointed that Harvey Weinstein's legacy has lived on. Like it's interesting that that's a connection for you, but not for me.
Oh yeah. Well, they were, responsible Pulp Fiction and
right. No, I'm just saying like the Harvey Weinstein of it all, like I wouldn't even know.
Oh, okay, yeah. So but I think at one point it shot off and they did the Weinstein Company, but then I thought they just changed the name and they still owned it. But I guess now Miramax lived on in some way, and I guess they make these sorts of like quasi indie movies. But it was good. I want to see Beetlejuice. Are you not a movie guy at all? I feel like I know you're a big sports guy. I
like sports movies. I got really into the Marvel stuff, and then the Marvel stuff got so bad.
Yeah, that I'm kind of. They had like a 18 movie run where everyone was good.
It was good and it was fun and they connected and I was interested in hearing like what came next. And then when it started to fall off, I'm like, now I'm like, I have this gap where like I don't have that anymore. Like I don't have this like thing I kind of looked forward to go to the movies. Yeah. I would say the thing that kind of filled that void weirdly is Star Wars. And
when they started doing all the different TV shows and movies?
Well, all the different TV shows, they were kind of good. Andor might have been the best thing I've ever watched on TV.
I never saw it. I heard it's great.
I think you would this is cinematic. Like I think if I think you got to go watch it. It's so good.
What about this? Have you seen the DC's trying to take over with like the last Batman, and now they have that Penguin series.
So
would you watch that?
Here's the hard part about the DC thing. I need it to begin. Like it feels like it's a lot of talk of like, hey, we're restarting the universe.
Yes. Yeah.
We are doing our new thing. But then the problem is with Marvel, you knew Iron Man is the beginning.
Yeah.
I think this new Superman feels like it's supposed to be the beginning, but then they're like, well, the Blue Beetle might be involved, and I watched Blue Beetle on a plane. I liked it-ish.
Yeah.
It was like fine. It was like, but I need a beginning. I need to know when this universe starts, you know?
The DC fall starts make the Marvel run that much more impressive because you're like,
right.
These misses, they have enough misses where people are, you're right. I think the same thing as you. They're being taken out of it. And being like, all right, well, so which one is it? Like, is it separate universes? Is it not?
Right.
Is it right? Is it supposed to just be like the Blue Beetle one, where it's only that is the actual the narrative, like the main storyline? Because like I think the Batman would he be part of that, or it's almost like a Nolan Batman where it's separate than that, the Matt Reeves Batman,
right?
They're doing a second one of those. So I totally agree. And
there's a second Joker. So are we getting? Like, does that Joker and that Batman enter into this new Superman universe? And like, you and I care.
I don't think they do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you and I care. We're not super fans, obviously. Like, there's someone on TikTok who like their life is this. We're somewhere like
there's someone on TikTok that's like, well, actually, in the trailer, he's wearing this jacket, so you should know that he's going to be in 4 more movies.
And I only laugh because I've watched those, and I go, look at this nerd, and I'm kind of interested. You know, like I want to know.
No, you feel like an idiot. You're like, I didn't catch that at all.
Right.
Well,
wait a minute.
Well, it's not the whole
Superman
existence.
didn't wear red trunks in the last one, and that's why everyone hated it. Yeah, like
yeah. Well, this is derived from an opera from the 1800s.
What else is going on in your life, Sean? We're almost done. It's a Chit Chat Wednesday. We do a short little episode. JTrain is
Wednesday.
We love a chit chat.
Nothing much. Just I'm going to be on a sketch on Colbert on this coming Monday. And
you're going to be on Colbert.
Yeah, I'm going to be on Colbert. Not doing stand up, doing like some kind of sketch type scenario.
What are you going to play?
An evil janitor, which is
evil janitor.
If you
these are roles you get. You get janitor, cop. You know, it's funny.
Barfly number 3. Yeah,
Barfly 3.
It's never brain surgeon or concert pianist.
I think everyone should have to get cast, just so they know where they would get cast. I think we have.
Oh, they have to what? Yes.
No, go ahead.
But they have to walk into one of the rooms to see every different version of themselves.
Right, the multiverse version. Because I used to get a lot like douchebag 5. Then I would get like sports fan idiot, and I'm in a movie. I'm the asshole brother-in-law, like, and I'm like, okay, good to know, thanks. Like, there's so much of this like main character energy, and it's a lot of like woo-woo stuff, and I see it. It comes across my feed because like I'm a little bit in the woman's world of betches, and like when that main character stuff was going on, it's not as much anymore, but it was like all these like women pumping each other up, which is like very nice to do. But then I think a lot of like men, we live our lives as if we're main characters, and then someone informs us. Like we can do that. We have the ego to not even need the woo-woo. And then someone's like, hey, you're going to be Barfly 3. And you're like, wait a minute, what the fuck just happened? I
just say, your sidekick neighbor. You go over there. Go to your.
You're lineless. You are mute sidekick neighbor who pumps his fists and in an animated way. That's your role,
dude. I did years ago. I did one. I've done little online commercials here and there, and that's a decent thing. But I like over the years. But I did one legitimate one, like where it was like the whole shebang where you're in the commercial and it airs for a while and do that. And I remember thinking like, oh, this is it. I'm in this world. I'm
commercial
this commercial world. And now I'm commercial guy. I'm going to get these. Not that I'm saying I'm going to book 15 in a row, but I was like, ooh, I'll get the auditions for them because I did the one. They know me already. No, I am a type. I am a.
What was the commercial for?
It was for AT&T.
I remember.
Yeah, I played a mechanic.
You were the mechanic in the AT&T commercial, and it aired all the time. And when you have a friend,
that you would watch, it was all college football.
Football. And I remember it because when you have a friend in a commercial, you can't. It is weird how happy you get. It is weird how excited, how you want to tell people who like don't give a shit at all. Like, even if I know you well enough, but like there were people that I would see at like open mics and I'm like, oh, and I'm like freaking out. I was like, I don't even know his name, but I'm like, that's the guy from Bar 82. We used to do the 4 p.m. mic, and someone's like, you went to a bar at 4 o'clock to do comedy? And I'm like, no, but forget that. No, he's...
There's one guy now that I barely know. I think that you might even be thinking of this guy, Martin Morrow, who actually I think does stand-up. You know Martin Morrow?
The name sounds very familiar.
Black dude is in every commercial, right? Every commercial now.
Really?
I saw him once at a bar show 10 years ago, and I did the same thing. I was like, to my girlfriend, I go, I know that guy. I know that guy. Like, big deal. I don't give a shit.
See, now, it's like you don't even have a story to tell. I know.
No, there's no.
The story isn't even like a story. Like, it's like, I just have seen him. And it's like, and then it's like this. Yeah, I remember Martin, this guy. I remember this guy. He's funny.
Nice guy and
yes.
Funny guy. Yeah.
And he's in every commercial now.
He's a dude. Now that you know this, it's going to be like where now you're going to see him 50 times in the next 20 days.
Right.
But I'm going to curse Sean for bringing it up.
Yeah, here he is in the State Farm, and the guy teaching the parents how to be parents.
Yes, and he does a lot of these, but I think he has that type where it's like he can meld to it. Or like there used to be a guy, and he doesn't do stand up anymore. A really great guy, this guy Luke Younger.
I remember Luke was
remember Luke?
Well, I remember him.
Commercials.
He's in so many commercials because I remember thinking like, this world of casting, like that, we don't think when you get into stand-up, you don't think of casting. You don't, and you see people get kind of plucked up, and you're like, wait a minute, I've seen the act. What's going on? Like, and then you go, oh, they're castable.
Yeah.
Right. And then they're like touring, and you're like, Oh, because they're making money in other places, or someone, I'm sure like agents, like I can hear the conversation that agents are having that we would never have, which is like, you're looking for someone that would look weird on camera, or look like this on camera, or look like that on camera. And like Luke, I remember this guy specifically was in a Bud Light commercial, and if you saw him on the street, you'd be like, that's a guy in a Bud Light commercial. Like, even without him being in it, you're like, this is like above average good looking guy who is unoffensive and is kind on the eyes, but also would be a friend of yours, would be, someone you would see at a party. It's relatable. And you're like, you can't even produce that.
No, and that's what you're right. And the casting part of it, like you said, that's what they look for. And they call it every man, call it what you want, but it has to have the quality. You can have every man. There's a ton of every men. They're all over the place. But for some reason, you're like, that guy's the guy that gets every man, because he's striking enough that he's like, that's what people think of as every man. They think everybody, that's what everybody looks like when they don't.
What they're looking for like Bud Light guy, it would be like, he'd be my friend, and if I saw him, I wouldn't hate him right away.
Right.
They don't want someone, right?
Yeah.
So
it's not like, it's not a bad guy from Karate Kid type situation. It's like
that guy you see,
warm
bad
face,
guy. Right.
That's bad guy. That's become douchebag or whatever it is. You're right. With Luke, if you saw him tomorrow, you'd be like, I love this guy. What a great guy.
He's a likable guy.
Thing.
It doesn't matter, whatever it is.
Exactly. But like
Sean Donnelly, thank you.
If you look like, sorry.
If you look like what?
If you look like this, you can bring. I might look like an uncle. I might look like a guy who punched you in a bar once. You never know.
Evil janitor.
Evil janitor.
Well, everyone go listen to Burbs Bros.
Yes.
Go listen. It's going to be in the description of this episode. We want you to go check it out. Add it to your here's the thing. Here's what a podcast does for you. It takes your brain and puts it on the shelf, and it lets Sean and Dan St. Germain, two even-keeled, totally sane people, take the wheel of your brain.
Totally sane.
Right.
Totally sane.
Well, maybe you guys, if you're listening, you can go insane with them and then go back to your sane thoughts.
Yes, like your normal life.
Afterwards. So, Sean, thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy. It was great to talk to you.
A pleasure. We'll be back next week. Boom.